All right, yesterday we worked on algebraic expressions, evaluating them. Today we're going to work on coming up with equal algebraic expressions using the distributive property. I hope you remember this. Equivalent expressions have the same value, but they are in just different forms. So here's the example. 2 times y plus 3 is the same as 2y plus x. So what this means is if I gave you a value for y, you could replace y in either of those expressions and get the same value, just a different form of the expression. All right, today we're going to be using the distributive property, and there are two ways we're going to do it. We're going to either start with parentheses like this expressions, and then we're going to use the distributive property to expand it by multiplying. Or we're going to start with an expression that looks like this, and we're going to divide and factor out one of the factors. So two vocabulary words today are expanding and factoring. Basically, we're going back and forth with expressions that have parentheses and don't have parentheses, but they're equal value, equivalent. I think you'll remember this. Okay, so let's talk about expanding first and a couple reminders, common mistakes that we see all the time. Make sure that you distribute the outside factor to all of the terms, not just the first one in the parentheses, and pay attention to your positive and negative signs. Okay, so let's do a couple of those. All right, 3 times x plus 5, and I like to do, sorry about that, these arrows to show that we are multiplying that 3 times both x and 5. So 3 times x is 3x. Bring over the plus, and 3 times 5 is 15. You guys remember this, right? All right, now the next one has a negative, so you need to remember your rules. So negative times a positive is a negative. So negative 4 times positive 2x would give us negative 8x. And then, this is a tricky one, negative 4 times negative 3 actually gives us a positive 12. All right, negative times negative. All right, then we have to deal with decimals and fractions. You have a calculator for the decimals. That's pretty straightforward. 0.5 times 4 is 2, so that would be 2x, and 0.5 times 2 is 1, so 2x plus 1. All right, fractions are always scary, but if you write it out separately, all right, 2/3 times 3, and you put that over 1, gives you 6 over 3, and that's equal to 2. So 2/3 times 3 is 2, plus, and I'm going to erase this, and now we're going to do 2/3 times 9 over 1 gives us 18 over 3, which is equal to 6. So 9y times 2/3 would be 6y. Okay, don't let those fractions scare you, or the decimals. All right, it still works the same way. Okay, now I want you to pause your video and try these 4 problems, and then come back after you've tried them and check your work. Okay, here we go. 5 times a plus 7 gives me 5a plus 35. Again, I use those arrows to remind me to multiply by both terms inside the parentheses. Negative 6 times 3 is negative 18. And again, we have a negative times a negative. gives me a plus 24b. My decimal, 0.25 times 4 is 1, and 0.25 times 8 is 2. And finally, I worked out the fraction for you. Okay, I did my work over here. 3/4 times 8 over 1. 24 over 4 is 6, so that's 6d. And then 3/4 times 12 over 1. 36 over 4 is 9. So there's your answer for that one. Okay? All right, next we're going to do some factoring. And factoring is division. And we're going to take a factor out of both of these and put it on the outside of the parentheses. And I want you to try to remember when you do these to try to factor out the greatest common factor. Okay, sometimes there's more factors, but try to do the greatest common factor. All right, so 8x plus 4. I can see that 4 goes into both of those. It's the greatest. So I'm going to pull 4 out of the parentheses, out of the expression, I'm sorry. 4 times 2x gives me 8x, and 4 times 1 gives me 4. All right. 12b plus 6, it looks like 6 would be our greatest common factor. I'm going to factor that out. And then I need the other factor partners. So 6 times 2b plus 6 times 1. All right. Now, 15 minus 10b, what goes into both of those? Well, it looks like 5 does. I'm going to factor that 5 out. 5 times what equals 15? 5 times 3. Don't forget to bring that minus sign over. And 5 times what equals 10? 2b. Okay? So we took the greatest common factor out, created an equivalent expression that has parentheses. All right, I want you to pause your video and try these, factoring out the greatest common factor to come up with an equivalent expression. All right, there you go. First one, we factored out 7. 7 times a plus 2. Next one, the greatest common factor is 5. It's 5 times 4 is 20, minus 3b. 5 times 3b is 15b. The last one, we had to find the greatest common factor. We could have factored out a 2 or a 3, but those aren't the GCF, so we factored out 6. 6 times 3c gives us 18c. 6 times 4 gives us 24. Okay, make sure you complete the questions and submit the Google form for your classwork participation grade. And please also do the practice problems from the daily lesson and check your work with the answer key. All right? All right, thank you very much.